Hello, Tuesday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. Jared, we have put a bow on Week 10, and the Ravens end up taking that game over the Saints. How was your weekend? I feel like I haven't seen you in 5 days. How are you doing?
Needed a break from me. I was too much. No, it's been a good week. Other than Tulsa, so I made my first college basketball bet last night. Tulsa +2
Yeah.
at Oregon State. They were up 16 at the half, and they ended up losing by 3. So my
Wow.
first bad beat of the season, and the way they lost, like technical fouls and just like boneheaded plays. But I'm glad. I'll be honest. If that's how college basketball season is going to go, I'm going to take a break till I make my second bet of the year. But I'm glad we got the bad beat out of the way first. I'd rather that happen than it be down the road. I'm sure we're going to have more bad beats, but yeah, that was fun. That was a fun way to go to sleep last night. And I woke up this morning thinking that was a bad dream, right? Tulsa up 16 at the half. We covered that. And yeah, no, we didn't. Sorry.
Yeah, we've seen that from a lot of these teams this season, and the Baltimore Ravens being one of them. But you know what, Jared? The only way to go up from having a bad beat, or the only way to go up from having a bad beat, is up. So
forget it. It's over.
I feel like you're in a good trend right now. But before we get into our Monday Night Football reactions, we need to talk about what's going on in Indianapolis, Indiana right now. Are they okay? And I think the answer at this point is no. Frank Reich is officially out in Indy. Jeff Saturday is in as the Colts head coach. Is he qualified? No. Is Indiana okay? No. He's a Colts legend, ESPN analyst with absolutely no NFL or no college coaching experience. He coached at Hebron Christian, which is like 45 minutes away here in Atlanta in Decula. It's a high school. Now he's interviewing people this week to call plays on Saturday because the team fired the 2 guys that did that. I know Sam Ehlinger is starting at quarterback. Like, does he hire Matt Ryan at this point as the offensive coordinator to call plays? Because he's been in the league long enough to know how to do that. Your thoughts on Jeff Saturday being hired as the head coach, or at least interim head coach here for the Indianapolis Colts? Because Frank Reich had to go, but I don't know if this is necessarily the right answer.
So, few things here. First of all, before I give you the low-hanging fruit hot take, I will give you the market analysis. The Vegas Raiders, trust me, I know because I had a large wager on them on Sunday. The Vegas Raiders played arguably the worst second half of any team in the NFL all season, getting shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Raiders are the next opponent for the Colts, so I'll put that in context first. Even after that result and how lifeless the Raiders looked, the line next week, Colts at Raiders, moved from 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6 after this news broke with Jeff Saturday. So despite the Raiders looking like a complete dead stick, we're still seeing the sharp money bet them based off of this news. That's your first indicator how the market feels about this particular move.
Like he has no coaching experience whatsoever, Jared. Like, I mean,
bizarre, Lauren. It's bizarre.
No, it's actually insane. I no like, truly, like, does he ask Matt Ryan to call plays for him this weekend? I'm being 100% serious. Because Matt Ryan
watch
is more experienced
the interview, the clips from Jim Irsay? The clips from Jim Irsay in the interview afterwards and with Jeff Saturday on stage with him. It reminded me of Ted Lasso's first interview when he went to the EPO. And the reporter stood up and said, "So let me get this straight. You have no experience at all. You're from another country and you come here and what is this a joke?" Like, I won't use the exact word that Trent Krim, the Independent. First of all, Ted Lasso, anytime, obviously with the belief sign behind me, anytime I can get a Ted Lasso reference into the show, I will. But that's what it reminded me of. Like, he was just like, yeah, I was shocked too. Like, here I am. I mean, listen.
The difference.
I have no words.
I said the difference is in Ted Lasso, they were trying to tank. I don't think the Colts are trying to tank the rest of the season.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's what I wrote in my notes for the Raiders. I'm writing up the Raiders Colts game for Pickswise.com this week. And, usually at this stage of the week, I'm just kind of doing my introductory, all right, where these teams headspaces are. And I wrote in my notes, can they even tank when you consider the division they play in, and they have one of the easiest remaining schedules in the NFL? They've already tried to tank. They fired their OC. They benched their veteran quarterback who they paid a boatload of money to in the offseason. And then they fired their head coach in 3 consecutive weeks. It's like the Holy Trinity. Yeah. It's true. But again, they're facing the Raiders this week. They face the Jags again down the stretch. Like they have these, I think they beat the Jags already, but they've got a couple of other games against bottom feeders. They got a game against the Texans. So I don't even know if they can tank, but they're clearly trying, obviously. Obviously is the goal.
I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how this Jeff Saturday thing plays out. I would not be surprised if Matt Ryan's on the sidelines in a headset playing offensive coordinator in a game like this. We'll see how it plays out, but I have never seen this before. Some of these coaching hires that are made in the NFL, it's honestly insane to me. I mean, he was a great player. He really was. And this can tarnish this guy's reputation as well. So we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, they have somewhat of an easy test against the Raiders, but now the Raiders are like almost a touchdown favorite. So I don't know.
Absurd. The Raiders are a touchdown favorite after what we saw last week. Absolutely absurd.
I don't know how he's going to be looking at the helm of this team. It's going to be interesting to see. But let's get into our Monday Night Football reactions, because I do have some reactions about this. The Ravens absolutely dismantled the Saints 27-13. Lamar Jackson looked really good. And the difference was the Saints didn't have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, right? Baltimore's defense absolutely swarmed Andy Dalton and the Saints. Lamar couldn't be sacked to save his life. He had 215 total yards and a touchdown. Kenyon Drake had added 2 scores on the ground. The Ravens have seemed to balance and figure it out. After winning, then losing, then winning, then losing, then winning, then losing. They have won 3 straight, and they're now 6-2 on the season, up 1 game in the AFC North. They could be actual contenders to win the AFC, Jared, at this point.
Oh, they are contenders. You better put them in the contender list with that defense. That Roquan Smith, and I was watching the Manning cast last night. How do you even watch the regular feed anymore after how good the Manning? I don't even understand how people would want to watch the regular feed.
Yeah.
But Peyton Manning basically said exactly what I'm thinking. Like, the guy led the league in tackles, and you just give him away to the Ravens. Now I know they gave up some draft capital for him, but I mean, this is a Bears team that you would think could use him, but the Ravens, you put him on that Ravens defense, and all of a sudden you get 2000 Ravens vibes. I mean, he was flying around the field last night. Now, can he do that every week for the next 2.5 months? The question with him has always been his durability. But in a vacuum, with him on the field, and now you move Patrick Queen to more of a joker linebacker spot, blitzing and dropping in coverage. Very athletic, very dangerous. Yeah. And listen, the Saints' offensive line's pretty decent, and Andy Dalton had no time last night. And then on the other side, Lamar Jackson's still very inconsistent. He's going to miss a lot of throws, but the Saints' defense, also a really good unit. They looked like they were a step slow all night. And it's just the misdirection. They were without Mark Andrews in that game and had no receivers. There was no threat on the outside of Lamar Jackson throwing it deep down the field. And they still could not stop the run, pass, RPO, read option game. I mean, the Ravens, with Josh Allen's UCL injury, the Chiefs being a little volatile, the Ravens are in that tier. I almost tweeted out last night. I didn't, because I thought that might have jinxed the game. But the Ravens, to me, are in that tier with Buffalo and Kansas City because of Lamar Jackson and now Roquan Smith.
Absolutely. And we talked about it on Pickswise Playbook last week, Jared. I think you said it. We were talking about the biggest trade moves at the trade deadline. You said Roquan Smith, and you see the impact that he has in his debut with the Ravens. I don't know if it was because it's his debut and he wants to, prove himself on this new team, but whatever he's doing is working, and I'm excited to see how that moves going forward. Let's talk about stocking up and stocking down. We'll start with the Ravens. To win the AFC at this point, 7-1 odds. I mean, it's wide open. After the Bills drop Sunday to the Jets, this could be a good case here to get the Ravens at 7-1 odds. They're balancing out. Lamar Jackson looks unstoppable. Their defense is phenomenal. They have Roquan Smith. Would you take them at 7-1 right now?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I almost got to the window on it last night. I was doing my initial shopping on it last night, trying to find books. And here's the reason why. The Ravens don't face a team with a winning record until week 18. They could theoretically just coast right to that number 1 seed. And to me, the number 1 seed, that's why I bet the Eagles early to win the NFC at like plus 375, because you just see their schedule and the other teams in the league, and you're like, they're going to have the number 1 seed. And that number 1 seed not having to play the first weekend of the postseason is massive. I would say that's arguably the most, now that there's only one of them, and you used to have 2 buys, now there's 1. That's the most important thing in the entire regular season, is to win the number 1 seed now. Like, if I'm a team, and that's probably why the Ravens made that move for Roquan, because they see that. They're like, wait a minute, we don't face a team with a winning record for another 10 weeks? Yeah, we could be the number 1 seed in the AFC if we go make a move right now to make our defense better. There's a big gap between Baltimore and those 2 top teams, Buffalo and Kansas City, like plus 250-ish to 7-1. That number will shrink. That gap between the tier of the Ravens are on right now in the market and those top 2 teams. This is a good bet to make. I think you're going to get some serious value on this bet as we move along over the next couple of months.
Ravens to win AFC at 7-1. What about Dolphins? You talk about strength of schedule moving forward. Dolphins over 10.5 wins, minus 110. They're at 6 wins now. That means, math-wise, 6 plus 5 is 11, which means it's over 10.5. They have a lot of games left, though. They play the Browns, the Texans, the Niners, Chargers, Bills, Packers, Pats, Jets. I look and I'm like, that's 4 wins. I don't know where that 5th win is necessarily coming from. Would you feel comfortable betting Dolphins over 10.5 and minus 110?
I probably wouldn't, because the preseason line was 9. And remember, we talked about it. The one big bet I made preseason on a win total was a parlay with Michigan at over 9.5, which at this point they would have to lose to Indiana and I think Northwestern, or they play another bottom.
It ain't happening, Jared.
Before they play Ohio. No, it ain't happening. We're gonna clinch it next week when I think they face Indiana next week. And then the Dolphins over 9 and 3-0, back to 3-3, now 6-3. It's Tua. Listen, Tua's numbers right now, you could say he's the best quarterback in the league. Remember when we laughed at Tyreek Hill over the summer when he was like, Tua's the most accurate? No one's laughing now. I'll tell you that. I'm not laughing. The numbers say he's more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. So, I wouldn't want to bet under this total, but their preseason win total was 9. Now it's 10.5. The odds of it going over by 2 and you winning this at 11, you're probably making a bet into the teeth of the market instead of buying at a lower price. So I'd probably pass on this, but I'm not betting under. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, between Tua and Geno Smith, what is happening in this NFL world this year? What is going on? What about the Jets?
Big game for Geno this week.
I know, and we'll get to that in a second because we're going to bring in Rob for that. Jets 20-1 at this point to win the AFC East, because they had a big win over the Bills. I mean, are they the real deal? No Breece Hall, like offensive injuries. Their defense, though, specifically Sauce Gardner, looked incredible. They made Josh Allen look like he did his rookie season. He threw 2 interceptions, sacked 5 times. I know we're saying the Jets are a fluke. They're not going to be able to get things done without these guys out. But they win against the best team in the NFL with no Breece Hall, and their defense makes the Bills' offense, which is one of the best offenses in the National Football League, look like amateurs.
So I might need you to stop me here. But I'm about to go on.
I'll give you 60 seconds, Jared. That's it. 60 seconds. I'm starting.
No. Not like time-wise, like craziness-wise. So
I mean, they're 6-3. They're 6-3 through 9.
What did we just say about the Chiefs and the Bills? First of all, Josh Allen's UCL is intriguingly intriguing. The Bills have been very mum over the last 24 hours about it. And that leads me to believe that it might be a little more serious than we lead on. Now, he did throw a 70-yard bomb the play after. So I don't think it's like completely torn. But I wouldn't be shocked if he missed a game or 2. I would not be shocked if he did. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's not 100% for the rest of the year, if it is partially torn. and he has to fight through a lot of the pain. And there's going to be a lot of cold games in Orchard Park where he's going to be a little bit, a little bit soft. But he's as tough as they come. I'm sure he'll play. But like I just said, the Chiefs are they look a little vulnerable, especially defensively. We'll see what the Bills and Josh Allen situation is. The Ravens look like they're ascending. You can make worse bets than the Jets right now, guys. They have a defense that can actually play. And I'm excited. I'm trying to hold back my excitement because I'm close to making a bet on them 50-1 to win the AFC. Stop me, please. Stop me for the love of God. For the love of God, stop me.
They're not going to win the AFC. The Buffalo Bills are... The Buffalo Bills, I think, are going to win the division. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC. I mean, if you cash in on that ticket, like
50-1,
you're buying all of us a gift at that point. That'd be sick. That'd be absolutely sick. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think if they had Breece Hall, that'd be a different story.
They're going to crush my spirit.
But their defense is really, really good.
It is.
Let's take it to the NFC. And for this, I want to bring in Rob Stats Guerrera to chat the NFL. You can find him on Twitter at Stats on Fire, NFL podcast host for SB Nation. Rob, happy Tuesday. We're overreacting right now to the Jets, but a lot going on. No one thought that they would be. I mean, I'm a Lions fan, and my Lions won over the Packers for the first time, in my lifetime, which was incredible too. But Rob, how are you today? Before we get into the NFC, we're putting a bow on Week 9. Oh, Rob, can we hear you? Can you talk again?
I think Rob might be muted there, perhaps.
No, he's muted. It's okay.
Can you hear me now?
We'll get it worked out.
Hey, there he is.
Let's go, Rob. What's up?
He's here.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, bud.
Thanks so much for coming on. Let's talk about the Seahawks for a second. They're plus 150 at this point to win the NFC West, sitting on top of the NFC West, 6-3 record, similar to the New York Jets. They're just finding ways to get wins at this point. And don't even get me started on Geno Smith completing about 75% of his passes. Their defense stepping up the last couple of weeks. Would you take a bet on them right now, plus 150 to win the NFC West?
Look, I'm a Niners fan. I thought I was done with the Seahawks. I'm not happy about what has been going on this year. But we're at the point now where you can't just say, well, the other shoe is going to drop. This is consistent performance by the Seahawks. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, it's not like they have a ton of games where you think they might lose. So unless they do it to themselves, I think they might win that division. They got to avoid a hiccup. And then, of course, they have to beat the 49ers later in the year in Seattle because they did lose to San Francisco earlier in the year. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but right now it's looking like that division is going to go through Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, Geno has been a very interesting player throughout his career. The game this week actually is even more interesting because he's kind of going up against his first head coach in Todd Bowles, who was a big, I think Rex was his first head coach, but Todd was there with the Jets, towards the end of his tenure when things really kind of spiraled off. So that's going to be a fascinating matchup this week. Let's get to your Niners because they've got another interesting matchup this week, the battle for California. And the Chargers are lucky this game's not in LA because it would be just all Niners fans at that game. It is at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. And this has been a big mover this week, man. We're seeing here up to 7 now on this line for the Niners. So I think the Chargers' offensive line, how they played against the Falcons, is of concern, especially with that Niners pressure defense coming off the bye. Kyle Shanahan have a little more time to prepare with CMC, a little healthier. What's your take on this game? Is 7 too much to lay for San Francisco this week?
I don't think it is because you've got a weakness for the Chargers lining up with a strength for the 49ers. The Chargers are giving up over 140 yards on the ground per game, and they're giving up 170 yards per game in their last 3. They cannot stop the run, and if there's one thing the 49ers can do well, it is run the ball, especially with Christian McCaffrey. They also should have Elijah Mitchell back for this game, who was their starting running back going into the year. So the Niners are going to be able to run the ball, which is important because they're really only built to win a game one way. They are built to control the clock, get up by multiple scores, and then let that pass rush that you mentioned go to work on the opposing offensive line. They should be able to do that in this game because they're going to be able to control things on the ground.
Let's stick in the NFC West right now because the LA Rams, I mean, talk about a Super Bowl hangover. They had basically a victory in the bag this past weekend over the Bucs before allowing Tom Brady to drive the field 6 plays, 54 yards in 35 seconds and score a touchdown with 9 seconds left. Right now, they're at 2-1 odds to make the playoffs. Would you bet on them to make the playoffs at this point, or is it too far out of reach? They're 3-5, 10th place in the NFC.
I don't think I would, because I don't know what problems they have that are fixable, right? The offensive line is not magically going to get healthier. They have no running game to speak of. So it's all on Matthew Stafford there. And the problem is he only has one guy to throw to, and it's Cooper Kupp. And don't get me wrong, Cooper Kupp is awesome, but he's still only one guy. So I don't know how the Rams are going to fix their problems. Plus, you throw in Jalen Ramsey's comments calling out the offense. It's just not a good situation. They're bad vibes for the Rams. And look, it was worth it for them, right? They went all in. They got their Super Bowl. If it doesn't happen this year, oh well. No Rams fan would give that championship back. But right now, they just kind of look broken.
They really do look broken. And they face and, the problem is the other broken team in their division is their opponent this week. So, you look at Arizona, and Cliff Kingsbury comes in with it's been a rough season for them too. I don't know what to make of this game. This line opened at 3 and it went to 4 and then back to 3. So I'm sure there's respected money on both sides. But do you think at some point Matthew Stafford sits? Like, do they say, hey, listen, bud, it's been a good run. You won your Super Bowl. Your elbow's clearly banged up. You can't move. You're a statue in the pocket, and our offensive line can't protect. We'll have the John Wolford experience for another, few games. Do you see that happening down the stretch?
I think he'd have to be pretty banged up for that to happen. Or maybe, I guess, if the Rams were officially eliminated. But Matthew Stafford, one of the things you can say about it. True. But he is tough as iron. I have seen that guy throw a 2-point conversion with a separated shoulder on his throwing arm. He does not like to come out of games. But if they want to take sort of a bigger picture approach to this and say, hey, it's not happening this year, why don't you go and get that shoulder or that arm taken care of now so you can be back ready as soon as possible? Maybe, but I don't think, at least until they're officially eliminated from playoff contention.
Fair enough.
Let's take it to the AFC, because I feel like after this week, people are overreacting to the Buffalo Bills at this point. Oh, they're not as good as we initially thought that they were. They lost to the Jets without some big offensive pieces. I know Josh Allen didn't necessarily play his best game. He played like he was back in his rookie year. He struggled through the air, and Zach Wilson looked poised under center. It almost looked like they flip-flopped mentalities for this game. I know the Jets defense is really, really good, but are the Bills as good as we think that they are, or are we overreacting to this loss at this point?
I think we're overreacting a little. Like, did we think the Bills were going to go undefeated this year? No, of course not. No,
Maybe.
I didn't think they lose. I didn't think they lose to the Jets, but like you said, the defense is really good. Plus, Josh Allen still has a little self-destruct in him, just a little bit, right? He's still that guy was trying to lateral the ball in a playoff game a couple of years ago. He still has a little bit of recklessness to his game. Now, you're right that Zach Wilson has way more, but for at least 1 week, he sort of curbed that a little bit. But I wouldn't freak out about the Bills. Yeah, they lost the game, but I mean, would you want to play the Bills right now coming off that loss? I know I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It really depends to me about Josh Allen's situation. I'm fascinated. What did you make of the Ravens last night? We were talking before, I don't know if you caught it, about the Ravens being perhaps an AFC contender now. If we do downgrade Buffalo just a little bit, maybe downgrade Kansas City just a little bit after what we saw Sunday night, is there any Lamar Jackson finally gets his Super Bowl ring vibes for you this season?
The Ravens just seem to find a way, right? Like, no receiver for them, I believe, had more than 25 yards last night, which is like, if you had told me that before the game, I would have thought there's no way they're going to win, but they find a way to do it. And the thing with Lamar is, like, even when everything goes right from a defensive perspective, you still have to tackle this guy. And like, that's really freaking hard to do. And Baltimore is just a they're a gritty team. John Harbaugh knows how to win close games. He's very good at managing the game, when to go for it on fourth down, those type of things. And I believe, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure they don't play a team that's over 500 the rest of the season. So
not till week
that
18.
might be pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Week 18, the last game of the year, is their only game against above a 500 opponent for the rest of the season. It's crazy, actually.
It really is crazy. One more question for you, Rob, before we let you go. I can't go away without talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ending their little skid that they had going on. Now they're minus 175 to win the horrible division of the NFC South. And I feel like the relief and the bounce in the step of Tom Brady after they beat the Rams was like palpable, right? I mean, but beating the Rams doesn't stop, like, to stop the skid doesn't necessarily mean that they've figured it out yet. That's definitely a step in the right direction, but they still need to figure out how to run the ball. They still have a lot to work through in that locker room. Do they win that NFC South division just because of how bad it is? Or could you see a team like the Falcons stepping up and maybe taking the top spot?
Think about how differently we're going to talk about the Buccaneers because they had one good drive against the Rams, right? Like if
Yes.
they lose that game, like Brady's cooked, they can't run the ball. It's a disaster in Tampa Bay. Is Brady going to leave next year? But they had one good drive. They win the game, and now people are like, uh-oh, here comes Tom Brady. Look, don't let Brady get in the playoffs. And it's kind of crazy, but that's sort of the wild swings of the NFL season. I think I have to believe in the Bucs more than the Falcons. Not that Atlanta is bad. Like Atlanta, if you're not on your stuff against the Falcons, they will beat you because they're just a sound team. But in the end, I got to think that Tom Brady's going to find a way, even if they only have to go, not 500 now because they play 17 games, but maybe a game over 500 to win the division.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it takes
schedule.
less than a minute to change our mindset about Tom Brady and the Bucs. I feel like everyone is like sitting on the edge of their seats for the last like 5 weeks, just waiting for the Bucs to do something, give us something to believe in. And they finally did it, Rob. If you had to pick at this point, winner of the NFC, winner of the AFC, two teams, who do you choose?
Well, I picked the Eagles to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, and they have done absolutely nothing to make me move off of that. I did pick Baltimore in the AFC, which I don't quite feel as good about now. I think looking at it now, I have to go with Kansas City, and it pains me because I'll always be haunted by 2019 when they whooped up on my Niners in the Super Bowl. But that offense looks like it's starting to get going and get comfortable with a lot of the new pieces that are there. Andy Reid is the best offensive mind of his generation. And you're telling me in the playoffs against Mahomes, a guy that now it's commonplace now for him in the playoffs. Like it's no sweat. Even if they get down by multiple scores, there is no panic with the Chiefs whatsoever. So I think I got to go Philly in the NFC and Kansas City in the AFC.
Love it. Game. Rob, we so appreciate. Yeah, it's going to be a really fun game. Rob, we so appreciate you coming on. Thank you for giving us all of your knowledge halfway through this NFL season. You can find him on Twitter at StatsOnFire. Hope you have a great week 10.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Thanks so much for coming on. That was Rob Stats Guerrera, Stats on Fire on Twitter, NFL podcast host for SB Nation. All right, Jared, before we get into our best bets of the day, let's talk about Superbook Sports. Let's bet it. Presented by the one and only Superbook Sports. Make sure to go to superbook.com, download the app today. And this season, we are rooting for safeties. That's because Superbook will give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread or any total. And if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you, my friend, get a $50 bonus. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. From superbook.com to pickswise.com. Gerard, 3-star play of the day. Hit me with it.
A big fat bagel. Nada.
Ooh.
I mean, it's, no NFL
we'll get
today.
A lot.
No.
We'll get a lot moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you can't force it, right? There is a really fun Maction parlay that Caleb Wolfinger dropped. One of the plays in that parlay is my play of the day. And there's plenty of other nuggets for you to, scoop up. For example, my early birds column dropped yesterday morning. That is still relevant information. Some of the things we touched on today's show. And there's some other fun stuff. There's a NHL mega parlay. There is just a bunch of other fun little droppings. some college basketball picks.
Yay! Make sure to check it out.
College basketball.
Yeah.
Yay. It's
college
back.
basketball, baby.
Yay.
We're coming back with it today, Jared. Your best bet of the day. Tell me more about it.
College football today. After last night's
football. There's a college
debilitating
football game today?
Yeah, it's Maction. I just told you it's Maction.
I love it.
Maction, baby. Lights, camera, Maction.
Tuesday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be very aggressive with the college basketball markets this season, but I need to ease my way back in. Yesterday there was like 1 million games, and I picked my favorite one, and it was just soul crushing beat. And I'm sure we'll get back involved with college. So college basketball to me is like my third favorite sport to bet behind NFL and college football. So you will get plenty of college basketball from me going forward. But today it's college football, little Maction, and we're taking it with Ball State, or as I like to call them, Testicle Tech. We're taking 11.5 with the Cardinals here. My ratings have this as about a 9-point game. So I think we're getting a little value through that secondary key number. But then you look at the quarterback situation for Holy Toledo, and I think we're going to see some movement towards Ball State later tonight. Why? Toledo's starting quarterback, Daquan Finn, missed last week's game, undisclosed injury, didn't practice at all, and I'm hearing he's not going to play tonight. So I don't think it is fully baked into the market that news will drop probably in, a few hours before game time. Tucker Gleason, true freshman, made his first career start last week. Actually played okay. 238 yards, 3 touchdowns, led the Rockets in a fourth quarter comeback of Eastern Michigan. Little step up in class passing defense-wise this week. Ball State's a top 60 passing efficiency defense. Eastern Michigan last week was 89th in that category. So not a huge step up, but a marginal step up in class. And again, now Ball State has a week of game film to digest because Tucker Gleason made his first career start. There was really no game film that was relevant before last week. Cardinals are also playing pretty well. Kind of a surprise in the MAC. 4 out of the last 5 wins. Carson Steele, 4 straight 100-yard games. So Ball State can run it a little bit, and Toledo's been a little bit vulnerable in that area this season. 124th in power success rate, which basically grades 3rd and 4th in shorts. So I think any 3rd down, 4th down and short, Ball State's offense going to be on the field. They're going to keep those drives alive. And Toledo's, again, defensive line doesn't create a lot of havoc, doesn't create a very, high pressure rate. So I could see Ball State kind of just being comfortable on offense in this game. Now, again, Toledo's offense is really good. Even with the backup quarterback, they played well last week, and I would expect them to score some points too. But this is 11.5. They can lose by a touchdown. They can lose by 10, and we're still feeling good about this. I think this closes beneath 11.5 with the quarterback news. So we'll take Ball State plus 11.5 tonight at Holy Toledo. Maction, baby.
I like it. Maction Tuesday, baby. Get me a Big Mac and some action. You love to see it. I'm taking it to the ice. We have the battle between the two teams in the Big Apple, the Islanders, heading into the city to take on the Rangers at MSG. I was looking at a money line side with the Islanders here because they have been red hot recently. They just got their 6th win in their last 7 games. They came off an OT win yesterday against the Flames. This team has been so good this season, and the Rangers are not necessarily living up to expectations at this point. They're 3-3-3 in their last 9 games. But it's hard for me to put my money on the Islanders' money line the second half of a back-to-back, especially when Ilya Sorokin isn't playing. It's Semyon Varlamov here in between the pipes. So I'm looking more at the total. I like the under 6 at -110. Igor Shesterkin between the pipes for the Rangers. He's so good. I feel like the under is the best bet here. It's 12-3-1 to the under in the last 16 head-to-head meetings, 6-0-1 in the last 7 at MSG. The Islanders are a team that muck up the neutral zone. They play a slow-paced game. They make it difficult for other teams to really generate a lot of shots on net, generate offense. I think we're going to see much of the same here. And with the way that the Rangers have been playing recently, especially on the offensive side of things, I think it's going to be hard for them to get it going against a team like the Islanders that does play such a slow pace. And having Igor Shesterkin between the pipes, I trust him. I don't necessarily trust Semyon Varlamov as much in between the pipes because his last game he played Saturday was pulled halfway through the third period. He allowed 2 goals on 24 shots, and they put Ilya Sorokin in. But you look at their offenses this season, the Islanders and Rangers both averaging about 2.8 goals per game this season. That is under 6 goals, so I feel like the under is the best bet here. You also have some tired legs on the Islanders side, too, coming off of the game yesterday. They're on the second half of back-to-back. Give me the under 6 between the two teams, the Big Apple, at MSG. -110. Guys, that's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.